Hello everybody and welcome. My name is Julie Mann and I show men and women how they can create healthy, happy, sustainable lives. And I'm really excited because today I'm joined by Helen Davies. Hello, Helen.
Hello.
So nice to see you.
I know. I mean, it's amazing to be on this. It's great. I'm actually quite excited.
Oh, fabulous. So for those of you that don't yet know Helen, she works as a clinical director, very important job. And also she's a I don't know why that's so hard for me to say, neurodiverse coach and champion. I love that word, champion.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, Helen, I'm just really curious to know. I mean, obviously, I know that you've been working in the NHS for over 30 years, which is a really long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it seemed like that, but I'm just curious to know whether you grew up really wanting to be a nurse.
No. So it's funny. I do actually have a family that does have a nursing background, but initially it wasn't my interest. I wanted to be like a deep sea diver doing marine biology or horticulture at one point, which is hilarious because I kill all plants now. But yeah, no, it's kind of something that I fell into, and I just thought I would give a go, because I had an idea that I wanted to travel the world and it would be a job that I could do that. And so literally on a whim, pretty much, I put in an application. Now, back then, they did an entrance test for those who didn't have enough qualifications, and my qualifications weren't the best because I didn't get very good grades at school at all. And I passed, which was much to my surprise, as many other people. And I remember my whole family going, "What, a nurse?" But obviously it stuck, because 33 years later, here I am.
What an amazing story. What about the values that you inherited from your family? Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, no, I've got I mean, I'm incredibly proud of my heritage. So I've got one side, my dad's side is Wales, and so I spent my kind of childhood either in the Welsh valleys, like Trearbert and the Rhondda Valley, or in Macedonia, because my mum's Macedonian. So I had from an early age, I understood that there was more one way of being, actually, and culturally that was really interesting. So in terms of values, my dad was really, his background was like, he used to tell me about when he had his shoes that they had holes in them and they used to swap the cardboard over because they couldn't afford new shoes. Like that, he said, people talk about poverty. He said he lived it. And so he went from that, and he tried to get into the police force, didn't initially, and then he tried a couple of times, and then he got in. And actually he ended up being very, very senior, and settling in Kent. And he did incredibly well, and got headhunted later on. He went and gave some talks to the CIA, all that kind of stuff. So he did really, really well. And his values were really about hard work. He had a massive hard work ethic, and just to keep on going, and actually don't be political. So he managed to go through the ranks, but he said he wasn't always popular because he was straight talking, and he just wouldn't like sugarcoat something or say something that somebody wanted to hear just to get a promotion. And to be honest, I felt it was really important to be authentic, and I've made sure that in my career, that it's all about helping people, and that it doesn't get cutthroat. I don't want to be that person, because senior management can get pretty a little bit daggers out. But I was like, no, that's not how I'm going to do it, and I'm going to show that you can lead with passion, that you can lead with compassion, and courage, and so that's how I try to do it. And also not be in your ivory tower. And I think that's really important, and that goes in and out of fashion in terms of management styles. And currently it's in fashion to be someone who's still in touch with the patient, still working clinically, as well as being a clinical director. And so luckily that's in vogue at the moment, and that fits me. And then the other side, where I was very lucky with my mum, is this absolutely unwavering belief that mums seem to be able to do. and I actually was in remedial classes all through my primary school. I was very badly dyslexic. And you know what's the funny thing is, it never even occurred to me that I couldn't reach for my dreams, because my mom was like, oh no, we just need to work out how. No, of course you can. So I didn't really see it as a disability. I saw that I had like different lessons, and it was hard to get grades, and I had to work harder than other people to even get a small grade. But because my mum had so much self-belief in me, and it was like, oh, we just need to work out how, that value system has stayed with me. And I think it's a really big part of my success. So collectively, it's about hard work, but also that not being restricted by a label, not being restricted by, you have to do it this way, because a neurodivergent person doesn't think like other people. We don't have atypical brains, and that's fine by me, because if you want somebody to do, kind of more your regular processes and systematic, then that's not me. I'm no good at that. But if you want somebody to think out of the box, find a unique solution, get things done, do transformational work, as well as, I've done a lot of patient care and that sort of stuff, then that's me. And it's helped me through my whole career. So they're very important values, I think, that also aren't unique to the workplace. So those things is what I've also brought to parenting. And I do think that's important, because there's a lot of pressure to be a type of parent. And I fell to that as well. I felt that I had to do it a certain way, and actually that way didn't work. The traditional work it does not work, particularly with an adopted child who's already traumatized. It actually re-traumatizes the child. So I really wish someone had told me that a little bit before that they did. But actually, as soon as I realized, I was like, oh, no wonder why that parenting style doesn't work, And actually, what's much more important is about connecting. And my dad said I was a bit of a hippie. I thought, well, I live in Brighton, and he said, but Helen, I'm very surprised it worked. I was like, yeah, it did. And it was, I didn't get it right initially. I did try the old way of doing it, and then I knew you could tell it was making it worse. And so then I learned about therapeutic parenting, about connecting with the children, about how their brains actually are, and that they're not little people. And it was transformational for me personally as to how I parented. And so, yeah, no, that's been an interesting one, because that's actually, I have the values of my family and my parents, but also I learned some new ones as well.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing to instill you with those values. So powerful. Yeah. I love what you said about compassion, passion, and courage, and living your life like that. Fantastic. So you talked about some of the struggles that you had in terms of being dyslexic.
Yeah.
Were there other things that you struggled with in your life?
Oh my goodness, how long have we got? I have a rule to make one new fluff up a day instead of the same one. So I've got a catalogue of things I did not get right. I think for me, the struggles, I think initially being emotional. My temperament is much more Macedonian, so like feelings are larger than life. They are like on a megaphone, and as a teenager, really loud. So life's either absolutely fabulous or absolutely shocking. Now, so I think trying to navigate that, whilst also owning being an emotional and sensitive person, but with pride, literally took half my lifetime. It was almost like coming out as emotional, that actually, I don't get it when you ask someone how they are and you don't actually really mean it. So actually the emotional kind of navigation, and actually I make a point of that, and people know I am emotional in my job, and as a person and with my friends, and it's not about apologizing, but also taking responsibility as well of what brings you down as well, and also where other people are at. So it's a little bit more rounded than just my world, obviously. So that's been quite a big challenge to navigate and work on literally half my life. And then the other challenge is, because I don't think in a straight line, and I never have, is I actually find regular life challenging. So I have gone in and turned around hospitals. I can, help bring somebody back. CPR I've done so many times on like the plane, on a hovercraft. I run to different road traffic accidents that happen around my area sometimes. I can do all these things that sound great, but you give me a box to unpack that last box, when you move, and it's got all these different bits in, and you will see fear. That is when you'll see my eyes will go, everything like that. That's when you see real fear. And actually, it's everyday life stuff like that I find challenging, which sounds bonkers, but yeah. I'm still working on the tidying one. I gotta say, I find it really, I literally have to put more planning and effort into that than I do to run a hospital or a clinic.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess it's about ownership, isn't it, Helen? Owning your feelings, owning the fact that this is who you are, and looking for win-wins. And I love about the fluff every day.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's this pressure, isn't there, to be this perfect person, perfect parent, perfect everything. And I think for me, it's really important to, like, there's a saying that we have in project management is don't let perfect get in the way of good. And it's such an important saying. And so for me, that's something because if I keep going for perfectionism, actually all I'm going to do is make myself unhappy. So what I try and aim for is good enough. And that's really important. And I think, like, as parents, stop giving yourself such a hard time. It's like everyone seems to feel guilty about everything. And I was no different as well. I think it's much more important to reflect and learn from things. So what I try and do is I try and learn, from my mistakes. And I have these things, what I call parent swaps. So swapping out guilt, but swapping in reflection. And so for me, that kind of approach is really important. And as nurses, like, I said, I've been a nurse like pretty much all my life. We use reflective practice as well, because it's our practical wisdom that makes a difference. And it doesn't do anybody any favors if all you do is just self-criticize yourself. So yeah, it's about learning. I think lifelong learning, this is an adventure.
Absolutely, I totally am with you on that one. And talking of practical wisdom, that is the name of your company, isn't it? So tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's really exciting because I have had a company before, but it was very different. It was management consultancy. So for practical wisdom this time round, as I say, I worked part-time as a clinical director, and during COVID, I just didn't feel I was doing enough. We've got this whole global pandemic. I just wanted to make more of a difference, and fine, I did go and help out on the front line and all that stuff, but it just wasn't enough. It just didn't quench my need to make a difference. Because literally what inspires me every day is making a difference to the world. It's a huge motivator for me. So I set up the Practical Wisdom, which is a social enterprise. And I set that up so that I could actually support other people. I started off with a free wellbeing conference for healthcare staff, because I thought everyone's a bit knackered and on their knees. And that led on to other wellbeing things, and also then led on to what I'm doing now, which is actually supporting neurodiverse people, I guess people like myself, other parents who might have ADHD traits like I do. I'm doing a course called Parent Thrive, which is actually for parents to help getting them from survival, if you like, to thriving, a little bit more joy in their life. You're not so sensible all the time. And actually understanding a little bit of how the brain works stuff, because I get that, and what are the a few modern techniques, and how cool your body is, because your nervous system can really help you up and down regulate. And there's so many different tools that people already have that they forget about, but also some new ones. Because for me, I've been on this journey for a few years. I adopted a little boy. It was a little surprise at the time. That's a different story. But basically, I kind of overnight became a parent, and I can't tell you what a shock that was. I thought, as a nurse, I'm like, I will, like, when it happens, I'll be an amazing parent. It'll be fine. I know that sounds cocky, but I was quite a good nurse. So I thought, and I loved kids, and I thought about being a pediatric nurse. So I thought, oh, I've got this. Anyway, hands down, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And I was like, my neurodivergence was got really bad. So my short-term memory got worse. My lateness, I mean, I don't think I was ever on time in the first few years anywhere. And just trying to think was difficult. Just trying to be organized was really hard. And like I said, I got the parenting bit a little bit wrong. I've got to own up to that initially. And I only learned, like, I learned therapeutic parenting. I learned about things called the bottom-up approach and all these different stuff, which was really helpful, because I'm already a nurse. I've already got a psychology and counselling degree, but it was like took things up to a whole new level. And I would say over the last 7 years, I have learned so much. And actually, I've concertinaed down the key bits that basically help and make a massive difference. And instead of it being a few years of a journey, I've actually put it into basically a few weeks. And there's one on Parent Thrive, which is about the parent themselves and anxiety, stress, getting organized, trying to even get out the door can be mission impossible. Some real practical hacks. And then I also do parent, so that's Parent Thrive. And then the other one is Family Thrive, which is about neurodivergent families and about when you have difference and conflict and how to have healthy, conflict and healthy discussions. And also, again, a little bit more about your body and sort of sensory integration. So I kind of bring together the biology stuff I know, and turn it into practical hacks, and all the different, other tactics I learned. So practical wisdom literally is what it says on the tin. It is all about practical stuff that will make tangible differences to people. And I'm really, really passionate about all these highfalutin theories and everything that I learned being accessible, and actually not using all this difficult language, and actually using simpler language, something that we can all get our head around and actually think, oh, that might be quite useful, or oh, that explains that. So I think accessibility is really important for me as well. And that's part of me, is bringing some of these theories that it feels like you have to have a PhD to understand, much more into the mainstream. So that's included in Parent Thrive and Practical Wisdom.
Wow, that sounds completely brilliant. And I really love your honesty, that you can put your hand up about things that you struggle with, and about, not being perfect. And of course, we all know really there's no such thing as perfect anyway. So I will put all your links, Helen, below this video. So please go and check Helen out and find out more. I'm just really curious, because there might be some people watching who right now, Helen, are really struggling. Maybe they feel overwhelmed. Maybe they feel that they're not really looking after their physical or mental well-being. So what would you advise?
There's a couple of different things. So if you're a parent, first, do not feel guilty about taking some self-care for you, because there's a lot of guilt and shame felt about you actually looking after yourself. Because the thing is a bit like when you're actually on the plane, it's like you take the oxygen mask off and you put it on you first, so you are then able to put it onto your child. It's the same theory. So please, please, please don't feel guilty, and make sure that however small, you take some time for yourself, and actually you do some self-care. The other thing is also, if you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, I can guarantee this isn't your first rodeo. This would have happened before, right? So the first thing to remember is you got through that last time. You will get through this again. It doesn't feel like it in the moment, but trust me, you will. The second thing is about how you can actually make sure you use some of your past strategies as well. And you can also try this odd thing, right? So it's for free. So if you go find a swing and you actually go on a swing, that's actually quite regulating. It helps you actually and your body feel a bit better. If you want to feel a little bit more happier and upbeat, yes, you could go for a jog. But then the other thing you could do is actually, when those exercise balls, bounce on that. There are things that are soothing that can help you kind of down regulate. And that's things like deep breathing. It definitely helps with anxiety. A nice warm bath. We all kind of naturally do these things. And there's a reason why even that English cup of tea helps. Something soothing about it. But the other thing you can also do is like a weighted blanket. That doesn't make sense, but bizarrely really works. A weighted blanket really is is quite calming, and that works for children as well. So there's quite a few different things like that that could make a difference to you. And I think the first one is actually just taking 10 seconds even to stop and think, what can I do right now in my gift? And don't put it off. What can you do today? It's not something for later. When I've done this, I will then take time for me. When I've done this, I'll take time for me. No, because if you did, then you won't. And then the last thing I would say is also, you know, particularly for parenting, but really in general for leaders as well, we are modeling how to be. Your child or staff, if you're on staff, are looking at you. They are watching you and they are modeling what is acceptable. So do you want to leave your child with the impression that it's okay to be stressed all the time and not take care of yourself?
That is such a great point, and yeah, really, really important and fantastic nuggets there. Thank you, Helen. I don't know how you managed to juggle your son and, you know, work in the NHS full time, or I don't know, you said part time, didn't you?
Yeah.
And also run your coaching practice. So, how do you do it?
Well, do you know what? I actually see my ADHD side as a gift. I all my life, I have actually almost feels like I had 3 lives in one. I've literally have always juggled lots of things. Do you know what I can't do? I can't do nothing. So I find that really hard. Unless it's a nice beach, then I'll try. But generally, what makes me tick, like I said, is making a difference. So if I know that I can touch, move, inspire in my coaching business, that literally will light me up. The fact that I can help someone and then actually feel better and empower them and give them stuff that will work, not just then, but like a legacy after that. And, you know, in my clinical work, you know, trying to support patients there. It's not just patients. I look at pathways as well. I do system review. So I hope that I'm improving things for thousands. And for me, that's what my mission is. And Practical Wisdom has a mission to touch 1 million lives. That's what I've set up, and that's what I want to achieve. And these are the things that light me up. And then you don't have to try, because you're doing something that you love. So whatever is your thing, if it's painting, whatever it is, I think once you find your thing, then it's not work, and it's literally a joy to do.
Find the thing and do the thing.
Yeah.
And then do it again. So what do you do when you're not working?
So when I'm not working, I'm really lucky because I live not too far from the beach, so I can go for walks by the beach. I've just had a little kitten, so that keeps me amused quite a lot. I have a wonderful girlfriend, and it's nice to spend time with your partner. I got amazing friends as well, so spending time with them. Yeah, so I'm very sociable. I don't just work all the time, I assure you. And I like to throw some moves, so I love dancing. So those are the things I do.
Fabulous. One final question, Helen. When you're no longer on this planet, how would you like to be remembered?
So I think I'd like to be remembered for making a difference to 1 million lives, I guess. Making a difference the most, actually, and spreading a bit of joy and love, I think. Yeah.
Perfect. It's been so great talking to you. Helen Davies, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.